Hi, John Erickson here at Advanced Ball Striking. I wanted to talk today a little bit about technique and the motivation for why people really want to play golf or really do anything for that matter. I think people play golf for different reasons, of course. Some people play for business reasons. It's good to know how to play golf. A lot of business deals have been done on golf courses. There's a reason for that. Some people like to get out and just exercise and walk around in the park. Hopefully they're walking around and not riding in a cart. Better exercise. I still walk the game. I enjoy walking the course and seeing. You can see more of the course and a lot more of what's going on out there if you walk it. But getting back to reasons why people play. For me, one of the great reasons I've enjoyed golf is the pursuit of excellence in technique. And I think that that's a very good motivation to have because as you improve your technique, just the technique of what you're doing, it's going to lower your scores because you're going to get control of the golf ball with better technique. So big advantage there. I think you can enjoy the game more with good technique. Having the ability to hit the ball where you're aiming, where you're looking, and start playing the course more like a chess game. There's another level there of enjoyment rather than just looking down the fairway and just swinging hard at it and go out and find it and hit it again. There's some enjoyment in that, I suppose, but it's a lot more enjoyable when you're actually strategically working the golf ball around the golf course. I think also with technique comes confidence. I know when I was younger I had a certain technique. I was using a swinging technique and I had very good teachers for that. Ben Doyle and Greg McHatton were great swinging technique teachers. As I got on the tour I realized to compete I needed to have a different technique, so I switched over to hitting. That I've been through this conversation before. But the pursuit, whether it was for swinging or hitting, learning the technique, learning what that feels like in the body, applying that and owning it, like you would learn to ride a bicycle. There's a technique to that. There's a feel of it. Why would you want to learn anything? I was talking to my friend that's a surfer the other day, and we were talking about the enjoyment of our respective passions, and he said it's just that feeling of getting up, just dropping in on a wave, and down you go, and moving your weight forward, and it's kind of this weightless thing. You're kind of committing to it, and knowing that board's going to be underneath you and catch you as you slide down the wave and then take off on you. And it's not a competitive thing. It's just a pure enjoyment of the experience of what that feels like in the body. I think for me, my primary motivation was really that in golf. What does it feel like to swing the club and have control of the shaft, the club head, the club face, as you're maneuvering that around the body, and all the different techniques that we can apply, to make that happen for us. That process of learning, the satisfaction from improving your technique, which then blossoms out and you enjoy the game more, you build confidence, a feeling of accomplishment, and just a good feeling of knowing how to do it. I'm a musician also, and I play guitar and drums as well, and I remember before I played drums watching a really good drummer and how they would have 4-limb independence, and I could see each limb was doing something completely different. I thought, well, what's that like? What is that like to feel it in the body? It's one thing to look at it, but it's more enjoyable to actually be able to do it. And it was a long process. It took a long time to learn that, just like it's taken a long time to learn golf and to learn the technique. But it helps to have good instruction. And there's a lot of landmines along the way, and you can end up getting what you think is good technique and it's bad technique, and you don't improve and you get worse, and it can be really frustrating, especially if people are spending a lot of money. So it's kind of similar to like say martial arts. you sign up for karate class or kung fu or something, and in the name of self-defense. But I think the reason for doing that is to embrace the discipline, to learn about the human body, because we're in a human body, and how the body can move, and understanding the qi and the dantian, and how everything moves from the core, and gripping the ground and ground pressures, and the movements of your opponent coming at you, and all of this discipline that's been going on for thousands of years, and to then join that lineage of that and to participate in that is really a wonderful thing. It's a very spiritual experience, and very much in golf too. The way that I look at golf, coming down a lineage of mastering, a craft within the body, and increasing your ability to strike a ball through technique. I recently posted on the Masters video I did, and and coming across the scorecard, Walter Hagen. The Hague, Walter Hagen. Walter Hagen shooting 68 at Augusta in 1939. Okay, the course was 6,800 yards into the 1990s. 68, 6,900 yards, about the same length course, all the way into the 90s. Here we've got Walter Hagen, 1939, shooting 68, and certainly the greens were not as good in 1939 as they were much later on. Much smoother and more reliable putting surfaces. So how did he do that in 1939 with, it seemed very archaic gear? I mean, I do think that the gear in 1939 was inferior to the gear that came along in the 1950s. I think the 1950s actually made the best golf clubs, the best shafts, the best heads, more compact. The heads were about half an inch, the irons, half an inch more compact in the 50s than they were in the 30s. The clubs are actually bigger, more like the modern clubs actually, in the 1930s. But moving the center of gravity and the weight distribution into a more compact head gave better mass behind the strike and actually improved the ball striking. I don't think it's a coincidence that Hogan, Nelson, Snead, that era produced some of the greatest ball strikers. And then you had the young junior players in the 1950s growing up on those clubs, Nicklaus, Palmer, Trevino, Gary Player, coming out of that era of equipment. 1930s, I don't think the equipment was as good. And the golf ball in 1939 is probably not as good a ball as it was in the 50s or the 60s. I'm not sure when the Balata golf balls were the best performance golf balls, higher spinning, meaning you can control it more. For good players, you want a high spinning ball to be able to maneuver it around. I grew up playing in the kind of 70s and 80s into the mid 90s with a high spinning Balata ball, and I still find that to be a superior golf ball to anything that's out today. Balls go farther now, yeah, but we had top flights and pinnacles that went farther back then. Nobody used them because it was better to have control of the golf ball with the spin for the good players, not for the hackers or the poor amateur players like to just hit it far. But getting back to the martial art thing, why would you do that? So you learn these things for self-defense, and the argument would be, well, just get a gun. Forget all that stuff. I don't want to practice. I don't want to learn all these things. Just get a gun and hey, get self-defense, right? But there's more to it. The experience in the body. Just buying a gun is not going to give you the experience of learning how to defend yourself in a street fight or fist fight, right? If somebody pulls out a gun, okay, it's a different thing. But getting that experience in the body, knowing how to defend yourself if somebody is attacking you or whatever, there is an argument for that. But the feeling of learning that, I think, is really a fantastic thing of what you're doing in the body. Same thing with golf. Now you can go out and buy a new driver, a big-headed thing with a shaft that's 2, 3, 4 inches longer, and smashing the ball out there. Say, hey, look, this is great. But it's kind of like going out and buying a gun. But you're not really getting the experience. So What's motivated me, as a player was technique. I always felt like that was my path. Better technique. Better technique's going to make me better. And it did. It was true. Better technique helped me out. There's an argument, a strong argument for that. And also motivated me to want to get up in the morning practice rather than, just trying to find some, a cheap shortcut, or I'm going to get this club or something like that. So my mind, I go back to fairly recently, playing over at Cypress Point, and the wind kicked up in the afternoon. We teed off, or maybe around 1 o'clock, and the wind really kicked up by the time we turned into the back nine, probably around 3 o'clock, coming back into that Pacific Ocean breeze, just coming straight into you, 10, 11, and 12, and hit a good drive out there. It was long, playing 20-mile-an-hour wind straight into you. And I'd hit a 1-iron in off the fairway. So I hit, great 1-iron shot, flushed it right on the green. That felt really good. I remember that now. I feel a sense of accomplishment being able to have executed that shot with a 1-iron, knocked it on a small green from, 210 yards out or something into a stiff wind with a 1-iron. Next hole, 2-iron into the green, same thing. Great shot, knocked it on the green. I remember that. Now, if I just went out and bought some hybrid or something, this club, it's easy to hit, and swatted at it, knocked it on the green. I don't know. It's a better feeling of accomplishment. I'm out there playing Cypress Point because of the enjoyment. I'm not playing in a tournament, playing with a couple of friends of mine. And, just the experience of that, kind of like surfing. Hey, I'm out here playing golf because I love playing, and I love hitting these great shots on this great golf course. Just like a surfer dropping in on a wave at a great break, at a great point, and dropping in and surfing and having that experience. I think that's a great motivation to have. So, what we're teaching here at Advanced Ball Striking is technique. Focus on the technique. Learn good technique. Time proven technique, the technique that the great master strikers used, from Sam Snead, George Knudsen, Ben Hogan, Mo Norman, holding shaft flex through the strike, understanding ground pressures, what we've got to do with the body to create this. I was down in Southern California this last week, and I took a walk in the evening, and there was a driving range nearby, kind of lighted driving range, so I'll just walk over there and sit down on a bench and watch some of the golfers. It was probably like 50 stalls. I think the range must have been 100 yards wide. There was one guy that I noticed was hitting in front of me, really strong, looked like he'd just been working out at Gold's Gym for the last 3 or 5 years or something. And looked like he never really played golf before. I mean, I'm guessing, just terrible technique, nothing good about the technique, but just strong. And big arms, and he just didn't really turn his body much, but he just swatted at the golf ball like it was a fly swatter, like he just did their arms and hands, and he was so strong that it looked like he was just going to break the shaft, like he was going to snap it. And every now and then he would connect and hit a golf ball that would fly well over 300 yards carry. Though a couple of his shots actually missed a 100-yard driving range to the left and into the right out onto the street. But occasionally he'd hit one, and then I could tell he'd be like, "Oh yeah, that's it," and tee the next one up, thinking, I'm just going to just repeat that again. It's very hard to repeat things that are just done in the arms and hands alone. Much more repetitive when things are working off the core. And very easy to repeat when everything is just moving together, just hitting, boom, and consistent. Everything working together as compared with this independent sort of hand-slapping sort of thing. I didn't say anything to him because people don't like unsolicited advice about anything, so I just as an observer. But I also noticed that on the driving range, of the maybe 50 people that were out there, I'd say probably 40 of them had drivers in their hands and were just swatting at it and just trying to hit it far. And I think that that's not really what golf is about. Maybe there's a certain amount of enjoyment just being out on the range, swatting at it, and occasionally hitting a good shot with a big frying pan driver. But to really master the game of golf, you're going to need a lot more than that to do it. And consistently getting control of the golf ball is the way to do it, through a good technique. So just wanted to talk about that, and just remind us all of just the enjoyment and the love of mastering something within the body, whether it's you're a musician or you're a surfer or a skier or whatever it is that you love doing, getting better technique and feeling that in the body and knowing what the body has to do. There's great enjoyment from that, and I know Hogan talked about that. He said it was just blissful thing to just go out and hit golf balls. He had great technique. Knudsen said the same thing. Mo said the same thing. The feel of greatness, So it's a worthwhile pursuit, and I think what we've done here at Advanced Ball Striking is we are able to show how you can develop technique without having to go out to the range and smash thousands of golf balls. You can do this through training, different, working with impact bags, different drills that we do. You can do this at home for 10 or 15 minutes a day and really improve your technique. Most of us have lives, and we've got families and jobs, and you just don't have that much time to be out there. When I was working hardest as a young professional in college, especially when I turned pro and I didn't have to go to school anymore and I had all day to practice. I was up early in the morning. I'd go out and run 3 miles and get out to the golf course, crack of dawn, and hit 500 golf balls a day and go out and play 18 holes and go back, work on my short game and chip and putt for a few hours, and then go to the range and hit some more balls and go play another 9 holes or sometimes another 18, and then come home just wiped out and go have some dinner with my friends or something like that and kind of rinse and repeat, and do that when I was home. And then the tour life too, so big commitment, but I'm not really sure all that was necessary. I think had I known then what I know now, I could have spent a lot more time working on my technique and refining that, and not relied so much on just boy, if you hit enough golf balls, you're gonna get it. So another thing, I was always impressed by the players that didn't have to practice a lot. The guys when I was on a tour, there were guys that just didn't really practice much out there. I'm sure they, at some time in their life, they did, but the fact they were on the road, it almost seemed like they were avoiding practicing. They wanted to just play, maybe work on a couple quick little things after the round, and then just get back to their hotel or go have dinner or go see the sights or something like that. And I always felt like those guys were the ones that had better technique. If you could, go out and shoot 66 and not practice, that kind of meant you had better technique than somebody that had to do it through just sheer hard work and determination. I was a little bit more on that side of the. I was kind of a grinder and hit a lot of golf balls, and really put in a lot of hard hours. But there were people that didn't practice nearly as much as I did, that played a lot better than I did, and I admired them for having their great technique. Some of them were just big partiers too, out all night and drinking and partying, and they go out and shoot 66, and you'd just be, they got a lot of criticism, but for me, I respected them for that. The fact that they could do that, with a hangover or whatever, and go out and still get it done. You have to have good technique to do that. You can get away with a lot of things with good technique. So technique, very important. I think it's a worthwhile pursuit. Feel it in the body, enjoy it in the body, and I think it's a great motivation. And learning with a 1-iron is what I do. I do almost all my practicing with a 1-iron. Why? Because it's the hardest club to hit. It's very, very hard. If I can hit a 1-iron, a driver on a tee or a little bigger headed fairway wood, much easier to hit than a 1-iron. If I can hit a 1-iron, I can hit a 2-iron or 3-iron easily. And if I give me a 7-iron, it just seems like a little toy, like boom, really easy. The mastering the technique of hitting a 1-iron, I think there's great value in that. Kind of like the talent code book that some of you have read, or I was referred to, and it talked about some of the different disciplines in sports. I think they talked about the South American soccer players that were, some Brazilian team and they would play a much more difficult game when they were kids growing up, and then when they got on the bigger fields and everything, it was like, oh, this is easy, doing something that's harder and more disciplined, I think, can help. So 1-iron is excellent. Problem with today, you go out to a big box store or a golf shop, and the salesperson comes up and they says, oh, how can I help you? And you say, well, I'd like to purchase a 1-iron today. They're going to look at you like, huh? What? We don't carry 1-irons. Nobody hits us. You don't want to mess with that. Here, hit this club, hit this hybrid. It'll be a lot easier to hit. But I think it's missing the point. Okay? The great technique, you should be able to hit a 1-iron, and you should be able to hit it good. If you have good technique, you can hit a 1-iron. If you can hit that, you can hit anything. So I think things are going in a different direction as far as priorities. Learn the technique, and you could be that Walter Hagen. Go out there and shoot 68 at Augusta National with some 1930s clubs. Do that, you got good technique. Just trying to do it through a club or a technology or whatever, you're not getting the feeling in the body. It'd be like a drummer saying, hey, watching Buddy Rich. I did the recent video that got taken down. I was talking about the technique of tripping the stick that he did. And doing that, well, you could say, well, why do that? You just have a drum machine, just program the beats, and there's my music, blah, blah. You're missing the point. It's the feeling of in the body. What does it feel like to be a great drummer, to be able to really feel the music and listen to what's going on around you and kind of conducting a group or whatever. That is a completely different experience than just programming, beats. It has its place. I'm not saying it's wrong, but it's a different experience, and I think there's great value in learning something in the body. Learn how to play a musical instrument. Learn how to hit a 1-iron. It's a worthwhile pursuit. Learn to hit that 1-iron. And you can buy one on eBay for $10 or something. There's probably one for $15 you get right now. In fact, you should get on there and get the first one you can get. But nothing's going to teach you better. You figure out how to do that, And I think Seve Ballesteros was handed maybe a 2-iron or something when he was a little kid, and his dad gave him a 2-iron. Here, learn how to hit this. You can hit that, and you can hit anything. And it worked out pretty good for him there too, kind of like the talent code. So, anyway, just some thoughts on that. The beauty of internalizing your technique, get that into the body, learn to master the game, learn to hit the hardest club like that through good technique. You'll find it incredibly enjoyable, very rewarding, and that's kind of my thoughts for today. We'll see you next time.